interlock using enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. Sheep production in the Philippines is more inclined towards food consumption. Lamb meat dictates a higher price compared with other meats in the market. It also requires low maintenance. It is noted for a good source of livelihood as it can provide additional income, especially among low-income earner families. Our local government support farmers by implementing livestock development programs, and one of which is importation of stocks. Importation is being carried out to improve our original stocks, where promising results out of importation in production can be attained. However, risk for introduction of foreign disease is a possibility, including the Mycoplasma, a viral disease in sheep. So Mycoplasma disease is caused by the Mycoplasma virus. It is transmitted through direct contact or aerosol, through colostrum and milk, and through the introduction of new stocks. It is characterized by a long incubation period. Infected animals become chronic carriers. Sheep carry the disease without clinical signs, and thus infection may be undetected. So key solutions to this, we need early detection of this disease using Elisa. We have to improve herd health performance and production. We have to provide an update on the occurrence of the disease, hence this study. Generally, this study was designed to determine the prevalence of Mycoplasma among sheep population in selected small ruminant farms in Tarlac, Philippines using Elisa. Specifically, this was conducted to determine the prevalence of Mycoplasma in Tarlac, Philippines, evaluate the risk factors such as sex, age, breed, and origin that can be associated with the occurrence of the disease, establish data for Mycoplasma disease in the province. For the methodology, we had a total of 92 sheep selected from the 11 identified sheep farms in Tarlac. So these are the 11 farms. So we had physical examination, body condition scoring, collection of blood samples via venipuncture, external jugular vein, and the processing and preservation of serum samples was also done, and this was conducted at the Tarlac Agricultural University Artificial Insemination Laboratory. So for the ELISA, these are the sample positions, the actual conduct of the ELISA. And for the results and discussion, out of 92 sheep stocks, 86 were found to be apparently healthy, and 6 were found with different health conditions such as colds, bloat, and necrotic left hind limb. So all farms have no history of Mycoplasma, except for farm number 3, which has undergone ELISA testing but revealed a seropositive result. For the result interpretation, calculation of percent inhibition, these are the formula for controls and for samples. So for the interpretation, if the test sample produces more than 50% inhibition, it is considered negative. If the test sample produces more than or equal to 60%, it is positive. If the test sample produces in between less than or equal to 50% and more than 60%, it is considered suspected. So our results on the first run, all samples from the qualitative and quantitative measurements were negative. So to validate our results, we had a second run. However, we had a result of a suspect, which fell in the suspect category at 54.69%, both on the qualitative and quantitative measurement. So to further validate the result, because this is very scary, we had the third run, and apparently all samples were negative. So for the summary of physical examination of findings and ELISA test result, this is the table. So out of the 92 samples, 86 were considered apparently healthy. 6 of them had different clinical conditions. All of them were tested negative. And for the risk factors, according to literature, it can be the source, breed, sex, or age. So Mycoplasma virus is present in most of the world. All breeds of sheep appear susceptible. Both sexes can be affected, and Mycoplasma virus has no age predilection. Signs rarely occur in sheep less than 2-year-old and are most common in sheep more than 4-year-old. So farms with apparently healthy animals were found seronegative, as well as the farms with animals that have health conditions. When the relationship of this physical examination with the result of ELISA test was considered, so no significant result was found in herd seroprevalence. So all of the tested samples were found negative, thus the prevalence also is negative. So therefore, there is no existing case in the province as for the selected sheep farms in Tarlac. Yet this value only represents the 11 selected small ruminant farms in the province. So we have to know the results or the condition or the status of Media Vista virus in the different towns. So for the summary, conclusion, and recommendation, summary, 92 samples were found negative in the study. All of the samples were subjected to ELISA testing at the TAU Artificial Insemination Lab, and there was no presence of Media Vista cases in the province of Tarlac. So herd prevalence as a conclusion is 0%, and with the association of the risk factors, again 0%. This goes to show that the sheep stocks are maintained well by the farm owners in Tarlac as for these selected farms, and that there is no active case of Media Vista in history of the viral disease in the province. However, we still have our recommendations where yearly Media Vista virus testing is recommended or suggested for the farms. Any new imported sheep stock should be quarantined and tested before introduction to other seronegative animals. Serological testing and segregation or culling of seropositive sheep is necessary to minimize the horizontal transmission of sheep stocks. And serological testing in each town should be conducted to check the status and maintain healthy sheep stocks circulating within the province. Another one, a very important recommendation, public awareness about the disease must be promoted by the local government staff to the local farmers. And with that, in behalf of Tarlac Agricultural University and College of Veterinary Medicine, we thank you, ICAVESS. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay healthy and safe, and God bless.
Thank you. Shall we go to our next presenter?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anggi Mukhtar Pratama from Department of Pharmacology, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Today I will present our research by title level of alanine aminotransferase ALT and aspartate aminotransferase AST in mus musculus, given a compound of temulawak, turmeric, kencur, and ginger. And this research has been finished in 2019. Temulawak or Curcuma cantorisia, turmeric or Curcuma longa, kencur or Kaempferia galanga, and ginger or Zingiber officinale are part of Zingiberaceae family. It is important as the herbs that are widely used by the society, especially in my country, Indonesia. Many people know that as part of empon-empon or in the famous called as jamu. Empirical study, many people believe that consuming of empon-empon can improve their fitness, increase appetite, and then can treat various diseases. However, has been no evidence that show how safety in the consuming the ingredients of the compounds, especially on the liver function. In alanine aminotransferase ALT and aspartate aminotransferase AST. So, the research aims to determine the level of alanine transferase and aspartate aminotransferase enzyme in mus musculus after being given of the compound of the herbs from temulawak, turmeric, kencur, and ginger. And the results of this study are expected to be able to obtain the recommendation for effective dosing of the compound, as well as evidence of safety in the consuming of many people in the future. So, we use 15 of mus musculus, male body weight average 20, 25 grams, 20 and 25 grams, and 2 months old, divided into 5 groups. Negative controls given by ICAVESS, positive control given by Stimuno. Treatment groups 1 treated by 50 milligram per kilogram body weight of the compound of herbs, and treatment group 2 treated those 500 milligram per kilogram body weight of a compound of herbs, and group 3 treated by 1000 milligram per kilogram body weight of compound of herbs. After treated every day in 7 days, plasma was taken through a lateral vein, and the sample observed ALT and AST level with veterinary hematology analyzer at Animal Hospital Profesor Suparwi, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And this is a result of ALT indicates that an increased ALT level in treated by 1000 milligram per kilogram berat badan of compounds. And then of AST level indicate that any increase in control negative group, control positive group, and treated by 250 milligram per kilogram berat badan and 1000 milligram per kilogram body weight. And this is a result of statistical test by one-way ANOVA followed by Duncan test in different alphabets, especially in AST level, indicates significant variation among groups. And now we can show that ALT enzyme level increase in 1000 treated by 1000 milligram per kilogram of compound. This is so that there are signs of hepatocellular damage caused by higher dose compound of the temulawak, turmeric, kencur, and ginger. And then the AST enzyme level increase in 4 group, but specifically in the increase in control negative group may be due to cell regeneration in various organ. Both of ALT enzyme and AST enzyme level, there are no change in P2 group or treated by 500 milligram per kilogram of compound. Survey show that ALT and AST enzyme only describe the level of liver cell damage. So the compound temulawak, turmeric, kencur, ginger, it is have various hepatoprotective agents such as cantorizole, curcumin, triterpenoids, gingerol, and zingerol. But the given by higher doses, it was reported to be toxic in the hepar. So the conclusion based of the result that dose of 500 milligram per kilogram body weight as recommendation for a doses because there are no change in ALT and AST enzyme level. However, further studies still need to be carried out to be ensured that a dose of 500 milligram per kilogram body weight. Thank you very much. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Well done to the participants for our first session. So now we have come to the first Q&A session. We've got here several questions. For our first presenter, for Mr. Gregorius Rembang, could you answer this question, please? Is CM from cell line applicable for clinical use in human, considering that cell line may have ethics issues? And also, why don't you use CM derived from primary cells? Could you please answer these questions, please, Mr. Greg?
Thank you for the questions. We don't use CM. We don't use primary cells for CM. We use primary cell for CM. That we use BUVEC, bovine umbilical vein endothelial cells. For the cell line, we use it in the treatment, the treatment with CM, TMT, and donepezil. For the ethic issues, we don't use ethical clearance because we got the umbilical freshly from a co-parturitions handled by a vet. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, and there is still another question for you, Mr. Greg. Can you answer this? Apoptosis is a physiological process. How can treatment differentiate between physiological apoptosis cell types and pathological apoptosis cells? Do you have?
Thank you for the questions. We can tell that apoptosis with the Elisa test, that Elisa test using Elisa kit that Elisa kit Caspase-9, Caspase-3, that is enzyme in apoptosis. And maybe these questions I will discuss it with my research team first, then maybe I will send it the answer to the email.
Yes, I think that will be good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Greg. And then we still have some more time for our next questions. We've got here questions for Dr. Lordi. Concerning your study, are there any other tools that have been used to detect the virus, such as PCR? And how do you compare ELISA and other detection methods in detecting the Mycoplasma virus?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the wonderful question. First, for our study, we only use ELISA because it's the only test available at the moment in our laboratory. However, there are other options that we can use. Am I choppy? Can you hear me loud and clear? Sorry.
Very clear. Very clear. Thank you. Yes, we can hear you.
However, there are other options. There are other options that you may use. There are existing nanosilver, maybe PCR for other laboratories that have this equipment or facilities. But for our study, we only use ELISA, so we cannot compare yet at the time being. And for the whole team, this is the first time that we tested Mycoplasma, because importation of stocks are very rampant nowadays, especially in the Philippines. We are into upgrading our stocks. We really want to improve our production rates, not only in sheep but also in goats and other livestock. That's why we have this fear, because when caprine arthritis encephalitis came to the Philippines, we weren't actually told. We were surprised within our country, and so we are trying to test now if there is existing Mycoplasma because we do not know the movement of this emerging and re-emerging diseases. So we are just trying our chance. Maybe we can check or we can detect Mycoplasma with any positive result.
Okay,
But
thank
we
you.
have
Yeah,
this. Okay, thank you so much for the question.
thank you, Dr. Rodi. And now I think we have also question for uh, Miss for Mr. Vishnu Krishnananditya. The question is, in your study, did you also look at the influence of disease as a factor that affects calving interval and postpartum estrus?
Okay.
Do we have Mr. Vishnu Krishna here?
Yes.
Ah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a problem with my camera.
Oh,
So,
okay. That's okay. But do you want me to repeat the question?
oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. In your study, did you also look at the influence of disease as a factor that affects calving interval and postpartum estrus?
Oh no, I don't look disease from factor in this study. Just we just collecting data from interview with farmer and recording status.
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you. And then there is a participant that would like you to explain how you make or how you divide the age grouping. Because you try to look at the age grouping.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
grouping just three group with based from the recording, good recorded, poor recorded, and non recorded, and then another group uh, from the breed of cattle, PO, simple, limbo cattle, and the research.
And the age, did you look at the age?
Yes,
Umur.
yeah, age and good healthy cattle.
Okay. Actually, the question is how you divide the age grouping.
Oh, I think that
Pembagian umurnya.
pembagian umurnya hanya untuk mengetahui itu saja, apa namanya, untuk mengetahui apakah sapi itu masih dalam usia yang produktif atau tidak, seperti itu.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much. We had a very nice session. So I think we are now moving forward to our second session. In the second session, we will have 4 presenters. So we would like to welcome Mr. Muhammad Sirajul Islam, Dr. Dorothea Bigarani, Dr. Anali Paragas, and Dr. Crystal Joy Isra to present their studies.
Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants. I am Muhammad Sirajul Islam, Senior Scientist, Bangladesh Livestock Research Institute, Bangladesh. Presently, I am doing my PhD at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, University Putra, Malaysia. In this special event online, I am very much delighted to share my research finding on comparison of growth, scrotal biometry, liver status, and quality of Malaysian Kadakelantan KK and KK cross-brangus bulls at puberty. Introduction. Keracanthon is an indigenous beef cattle breed in Malaysia which is highly tolerant to this environment, and KK is highly resistant against most of the diseases. KK are traditionally reared by the small-scale farmer with low-quality feed. KK cows are not bred with the superior KK bulls, followed by appropriate breeding policy. As a result, reproductive performance of KK cows is decreasing day by day, which is a great challenge for KK production in Malaysia. Selection of superior bull is one of the most important factors to overcome this great challenge, but the standard selection criteria for evaluating a superior bull is not yet established. Therefore, the objective of the study to determine the age, growth, reproductive performance, and semen quality of KK pure bred and KK cross brangus bulls at puberty. A research hypothesis, null hypothesis, mean 1 equal to mean 2. Alternative hypothesis, mean 1 is not equal to mean 2. Materials and methods. Ethical approvals was taken for the study. 6 KK bulls are selected from the Department of Veterinary Services from a purebred KK herd. Another 4 crossbred bulls are selected from the University Beef Cattle Farm. Some pictorial view to select the KK bulls. Some pictorial view of the experimental animals. This is also pictorial view. Management of experimental animals. Game grasses are provided to all animals by cart and carry system in the morning. Palm kernel cake were given to all animals at the rate of 3 kg per day per animal. Testicular parameters and scrotal circumference are measured with a scrotal measuring tape. Some pictorial view about the scrotal biometric measurement. Determination of blood serum testosterone. A total of 120 blood samples are collected monthly from all bulls. The sensitivity and specificity of ELISA kits are excellent, and some pictorial view about the semen collection and evaluation. Statistical analysis. Data were analyzed for independent sample t-test using the SPSS computer program to compare the means of growth, reproductive traits, semen quality parameters between KK and crossbred bulls. Correlation coefficients are determined by using bivariate correlation. Mean testosterone levels are calculated by using carb expert professional. Results and discussion. From this figure, we can see the age at puberty of KK bulls are attained by the 17 to 19 month of age, whereas the in case of crossbred bulls, it was reached by the 23 to 24 month of age. Comparative performance of growth and reproductive traits at age of puberty of KK and KK crossbred bulls. From this table, you can see the age of purebred KK bulls was 18 months, and in case of crossbred bull, it was 23.5 months, and the difference was highly significant. It means the purebred KK bulls attained more than 5 months earlier at pubertal age. But in case of bodied and average daily gain, it was significantly better in case of crossbred bulls. And we can see the libido score and testosterone was significantly better in purebred KK bulls compared to the crossbred KK bulls. It was libido score was 3.5 in case of purebred KK bulls, and it was 2.33 in case of crossbred bulls. From this figure, we can see the testosterone concentration, testosterone level during the pubertal age of purebred KK bulls was more than the pre-pubertal age of KK bulls, and same pattern were observed in case of the crossbred bulls. A comparison of semen production and quality at puberty in KK and KK cross Brangas bulls. We can see from this table the semen production is insignificantly better in purebred KK bulls compared to the crossbred bulls, but the progressive mortality percentage and sperms concentration were significantly better in case of purebred KK bulls. And we can see from the head abnormality was almost double in case of crossbred bulls compared to the purebred bulls. It was 9.83 in purebred KK bulls and it was 18.67 in case of the KK cross Gangas bulls. Correlation coefficient of age with body weight testicular parameters and in KK and crossbred bulls, we can see from this correlation table the scrotal circumference was scrotal circumference with age was positively correlated, but scrotal circumference was with body weight was significantly positively and strongly correlated. Conclusion: purebred KK bulls are superior in terms of libido score, testosterone production, semen quality parameters with earlier age of puberty compared to their KK cross Brangas bulls. However, further studies are needed with large number of sample size to explore the growth and reproductive potential of KK and KK crossbred bulls. Acknowledgement. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dorothea Megarani. I'm from Department of Clinical Pathology, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And in this time, I'd like to present you our research titled The Effect of Storage Time and Temperature on Hematological Parameters of Dogs using the VetScan HM5 Analyzer. First of all, in the veterinary practice, especially in the clinical pathology, an accurate hematological analysis depends on several factors, and these factors are summarized in the terms of total testing process in the laboratory. Total testing process consists of 4 stages. The first one is the pre-analytical stage. It includes sample collection, transportation, processing, and also sample storage. The second one, analytical stage, it is including instrument, reagents, personals, and also procedure. The third one is post-analytical. It includes reference interval, calculations, and also statistic. And the last one is the interpretation stage. It basically depends on the practitioner himself in order to clinically interpret the hematology data. Hematological analyses are usually performed immediately after sampling or within 24 hours after being stored at 4 degrees Celsius. However, in most cases, the delay up to 48 hours may occur due to the delivery to referral laboratories or the lack of service on weekends and holidays. Previous studies to measure changes in hematology data in samples stored at 4 degrees Celsius and room temperature for 24 and 48 hours had been carried out using various automatic hematology analyzers ranging from impedance technology, flow cytometry, or the combination of impedance or flow cytometry. And the results from the previous study showed various changes. For example, for the erythrocytes and hemoglobin, they appeared to be stable regardless the technology that were used to analyze the blood sample. However, in other parameters such as hematocrit, MCV, MCHC, leukocytes, and differential leukocytes, as well as the platelet, they varied after being stored at 4 degrees Celsius or room temperature. Some increased and also some decreased. Many of the parameters measured in the hematologic examinations are not chemically determined molecules. However, they are cells which can also undergo autolysis during storage. Also, the reagents used for diluting or staining blood cells can also changes in cell morphology. And if we go back to the total testing process, the sample storage, the instruments, and also the reagents, they play significant roles in order to measure the blood samples and also the validity and the accuracy of the hematology data. So far, no studies had been done for the effect of the storage time and temperature on hematological parameters measured using an automatic hematology analyzers equipped with the combination of semicolon differentiation and impedance technologies. And Abaxis PET-scan HM5 uses this combination of technology in order to analyze the blood sample. There were two objectives for this study. The first one was to determine the stability of the blood sample stored at 4 degrees Celsius and room temperature after 24 and 48 hours using PET-scan HM5. And the second objective was to determine the validity of the clinical interpretation of blood sample if there was a change in the results of the hematology examination. In this study, we used the blood sample from 16 physically healthy female mixed breed dogs, age ranging between 8 months and 2 years. So we collected 1 milliliters of blood samples for each dog, and then we put them into 2 ETA K3 tubes, 0.5 milliliters each, and we stored them at 4 degrees Celsius and room temperature. And the hematological analysis were done using PET-scan HM5 at 3 time points. T0 within 1 hour after blood collection, T24 after 24 hours, and T48 after 48 hours. And the statistical analysis was done using two-way repeated measured ANOVA. So we're moving to the results of this study. First one, the erythrocyte levels showed a significant increase when stored at 4 degrees Celsius compared to room temperature. And it was because of the deformed and aggregate erythrocytes during the storage were still counted by PET-scan HM5. However, the time storage did not significantly affect the erythrocyte levels. And for the hemoglobin concentration, no significant differences after being stored in the different temperatures over the time. For PCV levels, the study showed a significant increase after being stored for 24 and 48 hours at both storage temperature. This escalating of the PCV was caused by absorption of water in the plasma by the erythrocytes. And platelets decreased significantly after the blood was stored for 24 and 48 hours at both temperatures. And platelet can aggregate during storage and cooling, especially storage at 4 degrees Celsius, which tended to trigger more platelet aggregation. So this was why the platelets decreased significantly. NGV levels increased after the blood was stored for 24 and 48 hours, and this increase was much higher when the blood was stored at room temperature. This can be caused due to the swelling of the erythrocytes after being stored. And the MCHG levels decreased, and the decrease was much more sharply when the blood was stored at room temperature. For total leukocyte, it increased significantly when stored at 4 degrees Celsius after 24 and 48 hours of storage and tended to be stable at room temperature. Neutrophils, lymphocytes, and monocytes presented a significant increase after being stored for 24 and 48 hours at 4 degrees Celsius. And this increased count might be due to the erythrocytes and platelet aggregations during the sample storage, and then those aggregations were counted as neutrophils, lymphocytes, and also monocytes. Basophils decreased after 24 and 48 hours of storage, regardless the temperatures, and the eosinophils declined after 24 hours and then returned to rise after 48 hours. And if we're talking about changes in clinical interpretations, we found some of them. MCV changed from microcytic to normal. MCHG changed from normal to hyperchromic. Platelet changed from normal to thrombocytopenia. Total leukocyte changed from normal to leukocytosis. And lastly, the neutrophil changed from normal to neutrophilia after the storage. So We conclude that the MCV, MCHE, platelet, leukocyte, and neutrophil, they were unstable after 24 and 48 hours of storage at 4 degrees Celsius and room temperature. And then other parameters that did not change clinically, they still varied after being stored for 24 and 48 hours at 4 degrees Celsius and room temperature. And the blood samples should be processed and analyzed in less than 24 hours using PET scan HM5 for accuracy. And if the blood needs to be stored for less than 24 hours, it is better to be stored at 4 degrees Celsius. And lastly, regardless of the analytical and statistical differences, it is important for the practitioner to know whether the influence of storage time and temperature can alter the clinical diagnosis. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada, for making this research possible through the funding. And I'd like to also thank the ICAVESS committee for this honorable opportunity for me to present my research. And lastly, thank you very much everyone for your attention. I'll be happy to take your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dorothea.
Hello everyone, I would like to present to you our research study entitled Diagnosis of Mycoplasma Infection Using Immunocom Assay in Free Range Chicken Project with my co-author, Dr. Maria Asuncion G. Beltran, and I'm Dr. Ana Libby Paragas as the presenter. For the introduction, the free-range chicken production nowadays is highly in demand, for it is tagged as nutritious meat and eggs for the consumers. And then management system of production of free-range chickens are more like native chickens, for they are ranged in open fields for acquiring their foods. And through this system of production, the chickens are highly susceptible to Mycoplasma infections. Hence, this study was conducted. For the objectives, number 1, to determine the antibody titers of Mycoplasma Galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae among the free-range chickens at Tarlac Agricultural University, FRC project, and its beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac. And then to determine the positive results out of the sampled free-range chickens, and to create a vaccination program for the free-range chicken to prevent the occurrence of infection. For the flow of the methodology, we have the experimental animals, the preparation of immunocom assay, the blood collection, development of immunocom, and reading of results. So there are a total of 110 free-range chicken from Tarlac Agricultural University Free-Range Chicken Project and its beneficiaries from Santa Ignacia, Tarlac, regardless of sex and age were used in the study. These chickens were randomly selected for venipuncture, and blood samples were tested with immunocom assay for detection of latent, active, or previous Mycoplasma infection. So these are the materials used for preparation of immunocom assay, which the development plate were allowed to stand in room temperature for 2 hours for incubation, the collection of blood sample and extraction of antibody, and then the transferring of the blood samples to the pre-puncture part of the specimen paper with the collected blood samples. And then the development of immunocom assay, wherein 38 minutes is a total number of hours from row A to E, the development plate, and the COM scale that was used in reading the results. So for the interpretation of immunocom S units, so these are the value. So from S01 to 1, so it shows undetectable or low antibody level of Mycoplasma synoviae, Galiceticum, and Milagridis. For S2 to 3, it indicates medium antibody level, and S4 to 6, it indicates high antibody level. For the data gathered, the number of positive and negative results in the detection of Mycoplasma infection using the Immunicom assay, the antibody titer of the chickens tested that were found positive, and the mean antibody titer on the free-range chicken project from TAU and free-range chicken in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac, Philippines. For the results and discussion, it shows in the table 2 the summary of results in Mycoplasma Galiceticum testing using Immunicom assay. It was found out that 51 or 46.3% were found positive and 59 or 53.7% were found negative. For the summary of results in Mycoplasma synoviae, 62 or 56.4% were found positive and 48 or 43.6% were found negative. So this shows that the Mycoplasma Galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae were present in the free-range chicken project at TEU and its beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac, with 46.3% and 56.4% seropositivity, respectively. So this might be due to the replacement of breeding stock with the progeny of the same flock, seasonal influence, poor ventilation, contamination of litters, and no restriction and caretaker, visitors, and such other person, as well as other biosecurity measures. So despite the seropositivity for both the Mycoplasma galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae, all the chickens that were used in the study appeared physically healthy before blood collection with no apparent clinical signs of either Mycoplasma galiceticum or Mycoplasma synoviae. And as for table 4, it shows the summary of antibody titer for Mycoplasma galiceticum in TAU FRC project. It has a mean antibody of 1.40 Immunicom unit. And for table 5, for antibody of Mycoplasma galiceticum in FRC beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac, Philippines, mean antibody titer was 1.11 Immunicom unit. And then for antibody results for Mycoplasma synoviae in TAU FRC project, the mean antibody result was 1.82 Immunicom unit. And for antibody titer for Mycoplasma synoviae from FRC beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac, Philippines, it was 1.34 Immunicom unit. So using this Appendix 3 interpretation of results, so this shows a negative reading on the Immunicom for Mycoplasma galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae indicated that the test subject has a few or no antibodies to Mycoplasma. And this was due to the chicken was not shedding Mycoplasma galiceticum or Mycoplasma synoviae during the time of testing, or simply the chicken tested have not been exposed to the two Mycoplasma species. So the antibody titer of Mycoplasma galiceticum with 1.40 Immunicom unit and 1.11 Immunicom unit, and for Mycoplasma synoviae with 1.82 Immunicom unit and 1.34 Immunicom unit respectively. So in reference to the interpretation of the S value in Appendix 3, the antibody titer meant that it was undetectable or low antibody level of both Mycoplasma galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae. So the results may be interpreted as latent or the occurrence of infection was still on its early course and that have not yet severely progressed. So Rezen et al. Stated that Mycoplasma may not be recognized by the host immune system due to its intracellular location during its latency period. And a Mycoplasma will only induce disease after the host was infected by other disease-causing agents or an episode of host weakness. So therefore, routine monitoring is essential to evaluate the immune status of a flock over time. And this was the vaccination program against Mycoplasma infection that was created. So in here at week 10 to 14 of age, it should be vaccinated with Mycoplasma Galiceticum, given intraocular or spray with mild live strain. For conclusions, Mycoplasma Galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae were present at the Free-Range Chicken Project at Tarlac Agricultural University and its beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac. However, according to the results of the study, the infection was only weak positive or the antibody titer recorded was low. So the recorded antibody titer of Mycoplasma galiceticum and Mycoplasma synoviae, if not treated right away, could worsen. For the recommendations, antibacterial treatment, tylosin or tetracycline should be given to the chickens at TAU, FRC project and its beneficiary in Santa Ignacia for the alleviation and prevention of occurrence of mycoplasmosis. And then implementation of more restricted biosecurity measures within the premises of the projects. And then adequate vaccination programs for future flocks prior to transfer in the premises of TAU FRC project and its beneficiaries in Santa Ignacia, Tarlac. And lastly, another diagnostic test like polymerase chain reaction should be conducted for confirmatory and specificity of Mycoplasma species. So we would like to acknowledge the following: Tarlac Agricultural University for funding this research, the Department of Research and Development Office, the VP Red, Dr. Maria Asuncion G. Beltran, our former Dean of College of Veterinary Medicine, TEU, Faculty of the CVM, TEU, and Dr. Luis Jane C. Dumlao and clinicians, and to Almighty God. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Annalie Paragas. Shall we move to our next presenter, please?
Good day, everyone. I have the honor to present to you our research entitled Efficiency of Different Natural Fibers as an Alternative to Non-Absorbable Surgical Material in Rabbits. This study used the rabbits as the experimental animal. The study also used the jute, the banana, and the snake plant fiber as the suture material. The strength of the banana, the jute, and the snake plant fiber in handicraft and textile industries has been proven. However, there are differences in efficiency as an alternative suture material in closing wound has not been proven, hence this study. The objective of the study includes first to present a medical use of the banana, the jute, and the snake plant in surgical operations by producing a non-absorbable multifilament surgical suture thread. It also aimed to determine if the fibers obtained from the banana, the jute, and the snake plant are comparable with the desirable properties of a surgical suture, and also to assess if the produced surgical suture from the different natural fibers would elicit an irritating effect. A total of 36 albino rabbits, regardless of sex, ages 7 months, were used in the study, and rabbits are distributed into 4 treatments with 3 replications. Treatment 1 as the control or the silk, treatment 2 the jute fiber, treatment 3 the banana fiber, and treatment 4 the snake plant fiber. All the plant samples were sent to Bureau of Plant Industry, Malate, Manila for identification and certification of the plants. For the fiber extraction, the electric method was used, and these are the produced fibers from the different materials, the jute, the banana, and the snake plant. And these are the produced thread from those different treatments. The sizes of the sutures were processed by spinning and twisting to produce thread, and the produced thread were measured by means of the microscope. The moisture content was also tested. All the samples were submitted to the TUST in Taguig City, Manila. The tensile strength, the total weight required to break the thread, indicates the strength of the fiber. This is the setup for the determination of the tensile strength. Prior to surgery, blood were collected from all the experimental animals. And for the surgical procedure, an incision of approximately 2 inches of length was done up to the hypodermis part. The inside skin was sutured with 10 interrupted sutures and knotted using the 211 for the different treatments. Rabbits were checked and evaluated daily within 2 weeks based on the following parameters. First, based on the closing of the skin, then based on the knot security of the individual sutures, the presence of edema, the type of exudates, and the presence of hyperemia in the wound. A tissue sample was done on the 7th day after the surgery for histopathology. The tissue samples were collected and the incision using the dermal punch with an approximately size of 8 millimeters and fixed in 10% buffered formalin solution. The sizes of suture shows that they are not significantly comparable to each other. However, based on the United States Pharmacopeia, the sizes of the different sutures considered acceptable. And for the tensile strength, the treatment 1 breaks at 1,500 grams, followed by the treatment 4, then the treatment 2, and the treatment 3, respectively. This is the result of the moisture content and moisture regain of the different fibers used in the 4 treatments. The knot security in Table 3 showed that increase in mean value, which means suture loses their strength every day. And based on the result, treatment 2 or the jute fiber showed a rapid increase in mean value compared to other treatments. Table 4 also showed that the skin closure mean value, wherein the treatment 1 has the highest value from day 1 to day 12 compared to other treatments. Based on the result of edema, the mean value showed in Table 5, treatment 4 showed non-pitting edema that extends less than 4 cm around the wound area on day 1 to day 6. The mean value score of the type of exudation found in Table 6 revealed that only day 1 post-operative treatment has observable exudates, and based on the statistical result, the type of exudates was sanguineous exudates, and no exudation was found on day 2 to day 14 on all the treatments. Based on the result, however, in hyperemia, the Table 7, only treatment 4 on day 1 and 2 has observable hyperemia described as bright red and or blushes of touch. However, no hyperemia was observed in treatment 4 on day 3 to day 14. For the histopathology result, treatment 1, 2, and 3 shows a complete epithelialization and granulation which present at wound margin. The mild number of leukocytes and fibroblasts was present in perivascular space with focal presence of collagen around the nude capillaries. One tissue of treatment 1, 2, and 3 was already in proliferation phase. However, in treatment 4, no evidence of new collagen was observed in day 7. The rod-shaped gram-negative bacteria were observed in treatment 1 microscopically. So based on the result of the study, the banana, the jute, and the snake plant were proven to present medical use by extracting the fiber and process to produce non-observable multi-filament surgical suture. The study revealed that all the treatments have no significant differences among each other based on knot security and skin closure. And also, it proved that all the treatments were comparable to each other based on the tensile strength and the moisture content. It also concludes that the jute, the banana, and the snake plant does not trigger an allergic reaction in terms of edema, type of exudates, and hyperemia. The results also prove that the normal wound healing process was observed in treatment 1, 2, and 3. However, treatment 4 observed delayed wound healing process based on the histopathological result. So based on the study, the researcher recommends that the jute, the banana, and the snake plant are recommended to be used as an alternative suture, and a further study on the inflammatory and antibacterial properties of the jute, banana, and snake plant should be conducted. So these are the pictures of the different treatments in day 0. On day 7, and on day 14. So thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our presenters for their very interesting studies. And now it is our session for Q&A. Here we have several questions. For the first question, I would like to invite Mr. Mr. Muhammad Sirajul Islam.
Okay.
There's a question here. With the apparent superiorities of KK purebred bulls, could you share with us if there are any specific difficulties in rearing KK purebred bulls?
Thank you very much. I didn't find any difficulties to rear the purebred bulls as compared to the crossbred, but I think the problems with the crossbreds regarding the parasitic problems and feeding intake also.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now we have several questions for Dr. Dorothea. Maybe Dr. Dorot or one of her team can answer. Here we have a question regarding your study. As your platelet result is getting decreased, and you mentioned about its preservation at 4 degrees Celsius will increase the size of the platelet. Does it have significant correlation to MPV in your study? Could we have Dr. Dorothea to answer, or maybe is there any member of the team that can give answer? If no, then maybe we have to apologize for this, and we will forward the question to Dr. Dorothea, and we will make sure that Dr. Dorot and her team will answer your question. Apologies, please. And then there is here also a question for Dr. Crystal. May I know how you control the tightness of suture you did on each rabbit, because it may affect the wound healing? Could you give answer, Dr. Crystal?
Yes, po. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that question. So, the suture was not too tight and also was not too loose because it may affect the wound healing. Yes, so we use the 2-1-1 suturing.
Okay, and then there is actually more questions for you. From the economical point of view, do you think it is worth producing surgical suture material from this plant?
Yes,
it's very interesting.
Yes, that's correct, ma'am. I think so because it's more readily available in our environment. However, unfortunately, the cost analysis of this organic material or plants was not included in this study.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Dr. Crystal. And then we have some questions for Dr. Annalie Paragas. Dr. Annalie, there is a question about biosecurity. What biosecurity measures did you or are you planning to take after getting this result with your flock of free-range chickens?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to thank the opportunity for ICAVESS for this opportunity. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. So actually, after we have the results, so we have treated the chickens with the antibiotic. And of course, for biosecurity, so we lessen the entering of the, in the premises of the school. So we have only limited persons that allowed to enter. And of course, we have also disinfected the, sorry, it is, my internet is quite slow. So we have also disinfected the premises, including the facilities in our project. And also we have also discussed with the farmers to do the disinfection, especially on the facilities and some of the materials or equipments used in the farm.
Yes, because rearing free-range animals or free-range farms is quite challenging. So there is also another question actually. In this group of free-range chickens, did you also find other microorganisms? I mean, such as E. coli, for example?
Uh, no, we don't test it for E. coli. So actually, we just
Uh-huh.
use the diagnostic test kit, the immunocomp test kit. So we haven't tested it for culturing the bacteria.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I think that is all our questions for our presenters
Okay.
um, for the second session. Thank you very much for our presenters. And now let us move to our third session. And in this third session, we will have three presenters. So we would like to invite uh, Miss Madarina Wasisa, Miss Asfarina, and Mr. Rahmat Satya Aji or his colleague to present their studies.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, the seminar participants, my name is Madarina. I'm here as presenter on behalf of our research team to share our study titled Investigation of Chlamydophillosis from Naturally Infected Cats. But first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the ICAVESS organizing committee who gives us the opportunity to share our study here. Our study dealing with chlamydophillosis that is caused by Chlamydophila fellis, that is formerly known as Chlamydia psittaci variant fellis. The disease is frequently associated to ocular, respiratory, and occasionally reproduction tract infection. The pathogen agent characteristic and its pathogenicity have been broadly known, but the disease still frequently occurs. We still found the unsolved problem like asymptomatic underdiagnosed co-infection involvement problem in this disease. And those problems will only give the disease cat improper treatment that will only inflict worsened condition and higher medical cost burden for the owner. Therefore, the study about the disease is still needed to acquire the new strategy or management of the disease control. But unfortunately, the occurrences are rarely reported in Indonesia. So this investigation will highlight the disease manifestation and give us the information related to the species-specific detection in spontaneous infection. The methods we use in this study, we collected sample specimen, ocular conjunctival swabs from the chlamydophillosis clinically diagnosed cat with ocular followed by respiratory disorder, and particularly the cat with relapsing conjunctivitis. After that, we performed the cytology examination to evaluate the cellular composition. And then we perform molecular detection targeting chlamydial outer membrane protein gene in 277 base pair. And then we sequence it and generate the phylogenetic tree using MegaX. But unfortunately, one cat with a severe manifestation was dead and subsequently necropside. The tissue sample was proceeded and staining with hematoxylin erosin. The result we got in this study The cat patients were from different cat houses but had similar living environment. This is a typical rescue shelter in Indonesia with overcrowded, multi-age, no vaccination program, and poor sanitation. From there, we got two cats were under 2 years old, and the severe one is older than 2 years old. We already know that higher prevalence Chlamydophilus infection occurred in multi-cat environment, younger and stray cat. But in this study, we found older cat with more severe that we assume there was co-infection involvement in the same time. From the clinical manifestation observed, we could found the unilateral conjunctivitis with mucopurulent ocular and nasal discharge. This is the most common chlamydophilus manifestation. And then we found the corneal opacity and purulent nasal discharge. This is the rarely found in chlamydophilus infection because chlamydophilus is rarely involved the corneal inflammation. And the most severe case was unilateral agloproctor with purulent ocular and nasal discharge. About the co-infection involvement, we still need a further investigation. From the cytology examination, we found the basophilic round to oval inclusion body within the epithelial cell. So we always suggest to doing cytology that is thought to be the most simple and inexpensive method to detect Chlamydophilus. From the pathological changes, we found in lung suppurative bronchopneumonia, which inflammatory exudate found abundantly within bronchial and alveolar lumina, like this. And from the molecular detection, we found evidence of Chlamydophilus infection from the cat that we previously suspected Chlamydophilus. We proved that with the phylogenetic tree that demonstrates the isolation of Chlamydophilus belongs to the same cluster to the other Chlamydophilus from the other country like Brazil, Japan, and UK. We have submitted that sequencing to the gene bank with this accession number. From this study, we conclude that this pathogen agent is sometimes insidious, yet deteriorate immune system gradually. So, we need the proper and early detection of the disease to prevent the severe fatal disease. We suggest ecology, but to get more specificity and sensitivity, we suggest molecular detection. The evidence of Chlamydophilus infection with relapsing cases and sometimes develop to the severe disease in cats living in a high populated cat house may become a burden without the right treatment. And this result may also raise the awareness and concern to human health regarding its zoonotic potential, notably to the owner or the surrounding environment. This is the end of this presentation. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, or maybe you have the same interest in this subject, please don't hesitate to contact and reach us. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Mandarina, for the nice presentation. And we will move now to the presentation of Ms. Asfarina.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Asfarina Zulfa from the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. It is such an honor to be able to speak on behalf of ICAVESS. And in this very special occasion, I would like to share our research findings with Rita Hussaini and also Dr. Devita Anggraini about the application of blood cackle or adenoidal granulosa shells paste on rat bone fracture. First, I'll begin with the fracture. Fracture is a condition in which bone continuity breaks and followed by injury of the surrounding tissue because of trauma. In normal condition, bone is able to bear the pressure. However, fracture takes place when there is unbearable pressure on the bone. And there has been 20 to 25% of all of femur fracture cases reported in dogs and cats. Femur diaphyseal fracture in cats often takes place in which femur fracture distribution reaches 73.21%. And the next one, there is blood cackle. The blood cackle or Inodora granosa belongs to the group of cackles with blood red pigment and can survive in relatively low oxygen and water condition. The blood cackle shells contain 98 to 99% of calcium carbonate that can be potentially used as an alternative source of calcium. Calcium carbonate phase is known to have an organic potential as precursor in bone mineral induction. It can be processed into hydroxyapatite, which is a biomaterial capable of substituting bone tissue mineral, and it can accelerate the growth of the cells that will improve bone tissue. However, it had limitation because of its insufficient mechanical property. It could be used in combination with other polymers, such as sodium alginate, which that we used in this research. The next part is the material and the methods. 15 male Worcester rats at 3 months of age were used and divided into 3 groups. All rats were undergone surgery and fracture was made transversally in the diaphyseal part of femoral sinister bone, and then followed by fixation using intramedullary pin in diameter 1 millimeter. Group 1 served as control, meanwhile Group 2 and Group 3 were given mixed of blood cackle shells powder and sodium alginate, and 1:0.5 and 1:1 ratio, respectively, at the fracture area. After 4 weeks of treatment, all rats were euthanized and femurs were taken out and fixed in 10% of formalin solution for histopathological examination using hematoxylin eosin staining. And these are the steps of the preparation of blood cackle shells powder. The first step was boiled for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then the external part were removed and then cleaned and dried and heated at 110 degrees Celsius at the oven for about 2 hours, and then broken and filtered into fine powder. The next one is the preparation of blood cackle shells paste. The first step, 5% of sodium alginate was made. It was made by mixing 5 grams of sodium alginate and 100 milliliters of deionized water, and then left overnight. Mixed with blood cackle shells powder, and the resulting paste was sent to National Nuclear Energy Agency of Indonesia for sterilization using the gamma rays. And the next part is the results. And here are our research findings. As we can see in the figure 1, showed the histopathologic figure of group 1 that was more dominated by the proliferation of fibrous connective tissue, while a small quantity of cartilage has been formed and trabecular bone began to develop, but the fragments have not perfectly fused. As we can see that the figure 2 showed the histopathologic figure of group 2, where there was fibrous connective tissue, cartilage was mineralized, and trabecular bone were developed. As we can see that the figure 3 showed the histopathology figure of group 3, and it showed that the fibrous connective tissue were decreased, also the development of the cartilage and also the trabecular bone were more dominant here. The fracture healing process in rats went twice as faster as that in human. It was indicated by formation of callus that bridged 2 fragments in the 4th week and followed by the formation of new bone, external callus ossification, and the decrease in fibrous area. The healing process of the rats in the group 1, which reached the repair phase as indicated by the formation of the callus, but the need of calcium for the body has not been completely fulfilled for the continuity of the mineralization process of the callus. Therefore, The callus has not resulted in a good rigidity and caused fibroblast differentiation process. The next one is the trabecular bone of the rats in the group 2, which were surrounded by the osteoblast and callus that have bridged 2 bone fragments, though the gap has not been perfectly closed. It indicated that the application of the blood glycotrail space gave significant effect to the bone recovery and the remodeling phase. And the presence of the cartilage was indicative of the ongoing healing phase. Fracture healing was indicated by the presence of mature trabecular bone that was surrounded by the osteoblast. It showed that the application of the blood glycotrail space to the rats in the group 3 gave positive effect as indicated by the improvement in the bone formation. Just like what I said before, that the femur bone tissues had shown bone fragments that have not perfectly fused. It might result from the less stable fixation. Gap healing process took place on stable fragment fixation gave 1 millimeter cavity. It was necessary to pay serious attention in fracture management, especially reposition and immobilization. So we come to the conclusion where the application of blood glycotrail spaced in 1:1 ratio will ameliorate the fracture area histopathologically. Are some of this research, and here are some references that we use. I think that's all I can say about our research findings. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you, Ms. Asfarina. Shall we move to our next presentation from Mr. Rahmat Setia Aji or his team, please?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarimurti Nuraji. I'm from the Indonesian Research Center for Veterinary Science, Ministry of Agriculture, Indonesia. First of all, I would like to say thanks for your time and attention, and also to be able to deliver a presentation of our study in this conference. On behalf of the authors, I would like to present our study on the effectiveness of commercial bleach and disinfectant. This study were conducted by Rahmat Setia Aji and myself, Sarimurti Nuraji, from the Indonesian Research Center for Veterinary Science, Ministry of Agriculture, Indonesia. As we know, the anthrax is a bacterial disease of herbivorous animals. Although all mammals, including human and some species of avian, can be infected, mortality can be very high, especially in herbivores. This disease caused by Bacillus anthracis and has worldwide distribution. According to the data from the Indonesian Ministry of Health from 2010 to 2016, there were 172 cases of anthrax. 97% is cutaneous anthrax and 3% is gastrointestinal anthrax. Anthrax cases were reported in 7 provinces in Indonesia, such as East Nusa Tenggara, South Sulawesi, East Java, Central Java, West Sulawesi, Gorontalo, and Yogyakarta. Bacillus anthracis is a gram-positive rod-shaped bacterium, non-motile, encapsulated, aerobic, facultative, anaerobic, endospore-forming bacterium. Spores are the primary infectious form of Bacillus anthracis, with the infection occurring through ingestion, inhalation, or cutaneous exposure. Bacillus anthracis spores were reported to persist in soil for at least 250 years. So we can imagine that 250 years is such a long time. Spores of Bacillus anthracis are resistant to heat, desiccation, radiation, acidity, alkalinity, physical conditions, and other chemical treatments, so the contamination can be very challenging. Therefore, this study aims to evaluate the use of household bleach, household dihydrogen peroxide, and disinfectant to inactivate the spore of Bacillus anthracis. For this purpose, the Bacillus anthracis strains used were CTR04, which is the collection of Indonesian Research Center for Veterinary Science. Briefly, around 100 microliters of isolate was cultured onto sporulation medium in a cell culture flask, and then incubated at 37 degrees Celsius for 72 hours. Harvesting was carried out with PBS pH 7.2. The suspension then was heated to 65 degrees Celsius for 1 hour to kill vegetative cells. For the disinfectant preparations, the household bleach and household hydrogen peroxide diluted from 0.5 to 4%, iodine diluted from 0.5 to 2%, and 10% formalin as a control. For the effectiveness test, the spore suspension with a concentration of 10 to 8 colony forming unit of CFU per ml was added at equal volume 1 to 1 with the sodium hypochlorite with a concentration of 0.5, 1, 2, and 4%. Similarly, hydrogen peroxide with concentration of 0.5, 1, 2, 4%. Iodine with a concentration of 0.5 to 1 and 2, and also 10% formalin used as a control. The mixture was incubated at room temperature for 1, 2, 4, 6 hours. 1 ml of its subsequent treatment was taken, filtered with a 0.45 micrometer filter membrane, and placed on agar media for 7% sips blood. Incubated at 37 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. This is the result of this study. As you can see in table 1, the test result of the household bleach, sodium hypochlorite against Bacillus anthracis spores. This is really interesting result. As you can see, with the concentration of 0.5, 1, 2, and 4%, the hydrogen peroxide or household bleach, the sodium hypochlorite or household bleach can inactivate Bacillus anthracis spore with a contact time of 1 to 4-6 hours in room temperature. And little bit different in table 2, the test results of the hydrogen peroxide against Bacillus anthracis spores. With a concentration of 4%, the hydrogen peroxide was able to inactivate all anthrax spores at 10 to 8 colony forming unit of CFU per ml with a contact time of 1, 2, 4, and 6 hours, while the concentration of 1 and 2 were only able to inactivate all spore with a contact time of 2, 4, and 6 hours. The hydrogen peroxide with 0.5 concentration was only able to inactivate all spores with a contact time of 6 hours. The table 3 shows the test results of iodines against Bacillus anthracis spores. As we can see here, at the concentration of 0.5, 1, and 2%, the iodine can inactivate Bacillus anthracis spore with a contact time of 1, 2, 4, 6 hours in room temperature. For the formalin concentration of 10%, as we expected here as a control, it can inactivate Bacillus anthracis spore with a contact time of 1, 2, 4, 6 hours in room temperature. As a conclusion, first, the household bleach containing of 0.5% sodium hypochlorite and 0.5% iodine can inactivate Bacillus anthracis spores with a contact time of 1 hour. Household hydrogen peroxide with a concentration of 1 and 2% can kill anthrax spore within 2 hours, while at the concentration of 4% within 1 hour. Those household bleach and hydrogen peroxide can be used as an alternative disinfectant at a low cost and easy to obtain. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We such interesting presentations from our presenters. And now we come to our Q&A session. Here I already compiled several questions addressed to our presenters. So the first question is for Ms. Madarina. The question is regarding the rescue centers, especially like the cat rescue centers in Indonesia setting. Do you have any suggestion for rescue centers to anticipate the disease? And what is the best approach for treatment and prevention for this disease? Can you please give explanation, Ms. Madarina?
Okay. First of all, I would like to greet our team here, the members of our team, Prof. Islina, Dr. Ibra Julianto, and Dr. Fajar. Maybe they can give additional answer and give a clearer explanation about your question. Thank you for your question. I try to answer that. Early detection is very important for this chlamydial infection because we know that it is a very, very common disease in cats, but but this is still underrated disease because we only say that that's common infection, just give the antibiotic, this, that, and then, well, so we need the further investigation, like the molecular investigation, to understand about the pathogenicity. And then for the rescue shelter, we need the investigation, and then we need the the disease control for each the awareness from the others to get the more aware in this infectious disease. Yeah.
Okay, and then, oh yeah. Sorry. So, what will be the approach for the treatment for this disease?
I think that we currently use the common antibiotics like doxycycline. So, yeah.
Is there any stress on the husbandry practices, especially for the rescue center?
What? Sorry.
Is there any stress on the husband? Is there any husbandry practices that should be performed? Can you hear me?
Yeah, like the to make a better sanitation in the shelter.
Yeah, thank you. I think that is all the questions for Ms. Madarina. Thank you very much for your answers. Question from Ms. Asfarina. I think we have one here in the chat, in the chat room. Could you please explain? Sorry. We know the blood cockle composition is not only the calcium carbonate. So how you know that it's not the other component that affect the fracture healing, and how do you check the toxicity level of the powder that you have?
Okay. Thank you so much for the question. So yes, the blood cockle. We did the analysis of the blood cockle shells using the inductively coupled plasma or ICP method to show the composition, which is the calcium carbonate and also the other substances. And we also did the sterilization using the gamma rays 25 kilograms for about 10 minutes in the National Agency Nuclear so that there won't be any contamination. We only use we didn't really check the toxicity level, but we we did thought that maybe if we also did the sterilization, also we did the analysis, there might be no toxicity in the animals that we used.
Oh, okay. And then actually there's a quick question on how you applied. Are you still there? Or are we losing you? Yeah, sorry, we just lost you, I think, but you're back. Thank you. How did you apply the paste? What is your method of delivery to the animals?
Okay, so we did apply the paste with using the spatula, which also used in the dentistry, respectively at the fracture area after the surgery using the manual drill. And yeah, I think that's all.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think thank you. That is all the questions for you, Ms. Asfarina. And then we have some questions for Mr. Rahmat Setia Aji or Mr. Harimurti. The first question is how how to disinfect the environment from anthrax spore? Is it enough with household bleach or it has to add 10% of formalin? So the question is whether it is enough to use the household bleach or do you have to combine it with the 10% formalin? Can I invite Mr. Rahmat Setia Aji or Mr. Harimurti to answer the question, please? Are you still with us? Oh no, not anymore. Okay, unfortunately, Mr. Rahmat Setia Aji and Mr. Harimurti are not in our room anymore. Probably they're just lost a signal. But actually, there are two questions for them, and one is from Dr. Sitarina. So, apologies for that we cannot give you the answer at the moment. But we would like we will forward your questions to our presenter and make sure that you will get the answer. Okay, thank you to our presenters for the third session. And now we've come to our fourth section. I'm very excited because I feel that I already learned a lot. So we will continue to our fourth session, our last session, but certainly not the least. So in this fourth session, we would like to invite Miss or Mrs. Santika Anggrahini, Dr. Medania Purwaningrum, and Mr. Rizky Fitrawan Yunaidi to present their studies.
Hello, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Sandika. I'm a student in the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. And this occasion, I would like to present our research about in vitro anthelmintic activity of clove leaf extract against Ascardicale. So let me start by giving you some background about poultry. In Indonesia, poultry is the largest supplier of animal protein. However, most of the maintenance systems are still traditional, such as being maintained in a backyard or free range. Infections such as helminthiasis are a major obstacle to maintenance of poultry on a free range basis. Ascardicale is the most common type of worm. The prevalence of chickens infected with Ascardicale can reach 92%. Ascardicale is also found in broilers, layers, local chicken, and duck. Many commercial anthelmintic drugs are used to control the incidence of ascardiosis, such as piperazine. Commercial anthelmintic drugs cause many problems, including environmental pollution, adverse effects on host health, and widespread anthelmintic resistance. Plants of the genus Syzygium from comparative studies revealed that there is gastrointestinal activity against infectious agents as anthelmintic. Therefore, in this study conducted to determine potential anthelmintic of clove leaf ethanol extract, RCLE, against ascardigale through the proportion of phytochemical content of clove leaf ethanol extract and the effect of CLE as an anthelmintic on the mortality rate and Ostra tractor of adult ascardigale. Well, turning our attention now to the methods and methods. This study used ascardigale from slaughtering house at poultry abattoirs in Yogyakarta, especially in urban market. The first method is phytochemical test, which is to determine the content of tannin, saponin, flavonoid, and phenol. And then in vitro test, a total of 240 worms were divided into 8 groups. CLE was prepared in 7 different concentrations, like 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, and 140 milligrams per milliliter, and saline water as control, respectively, with 3 repetitions. 10 worms of each group submerged into 25 milliliters of the tested solution for 3 until 9 hours. Then evaluated using a scanning electron microscope for Ostra structure ascardigale. So now let's move on to the results and discussion. The first result is about phytochemicals of clove leaf extract content. The tannin content is 2.39, saponin 6.97, flavonoid is 6.39, and phenol 18.04. And in another study, the phytochemical active components of clove leaves are qualitatively contain alkaloid, tannin, saponin, flavonoid, phenols, glycoside, and terpenoid. The phenol quantifications is an important step in drug discovery. Meanwhile, the beneficial effects of medicinal plants usually result from secondary products present in plants, usually not attributed to only one compound, but a combination of metabolisms. However, Madbuik in 2018 stated that clove oil is known to contain several compounds other than that the main compound known to contain is eugenol up to about 85 until 90%, which is a source of antifungal, anesthetic, and antiseptic properties. And also eugenol acetate, but with a percentage of 9 until 10%. Clove leaves contain about 1 until 4% essential oil. The next is mean percent mortality of ascardigale after immersion for 3 until 9 hours. From this table, we know that the highest ascardigale mortality rate was found in treatment 140 milligrams per milliliter after immersion for 9 hours. And the next result is the ultrastructure of ascardigale. In the right side, showing damage and wrinkling to the anterior side of the womb because of immersion in CLE. And the left side, on the treatment control, no damage to the cuticle surface is not visible. Host in 2006 said that incubation with chestnut extract that contains tannin leads to a disruption of the cuticle, with transverse ridge visible. This proves there is anthelmintic activity of CLE or Syzygium aromaticum against ascardigale. Added by Mubarakah et al. In 2019 that tannins inhibit the enzyme and degrade the incoming membrane to reduce parasite energy production, which ultimately leads to death. In addition, phenols are better known for their antioxidant agents, as well as beta-phenolic anthelmintics exert their inhibitory or cidal effects over helminthes to their proxidant activity. Okay. In conclusion, let me sum up the point. Clove-leaf ethanolic extract or CLE contains active compounds that can cause death and ultrastructural change in Ascardia galli. So that the clove leaf has the potential to be anthelmintic. Okay, that's all I have to say about, and thank you.
Okay, thank you to Ms. Santika. And now shall we invite our next speaker, Dr. Medania Purwaningrum.
Hello everyone, I'm Medania Purwaningrum from Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Thank you for this opportunity for oral presentation in the first International Conference of Advanced Veterinary Science and Technologies for Sustainable Development, Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. I'm going to present our mini review article. I will share my screen first. The title of our mini review article is Comparative Characteristic Study from Bone Marrow-Derived Mesenchymal Stem Cell. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to our advisor, Dr. Chen Pop Sawangmek, and also to our senior as corresponding author, Dr. Siri Ratnantavisai, and to my colleagues, Dr. Stephen and Dr. Nabila. Here is our outline. I'm going to start with introduction, and the second is history of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. The third is collection site of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. The fourth is stemness characteristic of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. And the next is bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell-based tissue engineering in practice. And I'm going to end with conclusion. Now let's start with our first outline, introduction. Tissue engineering is a multidisciplinary study based on biology, biochemistry, bioengineering, medical science, and pharmacology to restore, maintain, and improve the function of tissues or organs. And there are three main components of tissue engineering. The first is scaffolds, the second is signaling molecules, and the third is cells. Among these components, the promising to do experiment both in vitro and in vivo is stem cell, and we can obtain from the origin, embryonic stem cell, and adult stem cell. Adult stem cell has been introduced in various. It can obtain from adipose tissue, umbilical cord, placenta, and bone marrow. Furthermore, bone marrow is the main source of stem cell. Here is history of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. It was discovered in 1970, and 10 years later, it named as stromal cell or osteogenic stem cell. And in 1990, it changed into mesenchymal, and in 2000, International Society Cell and Gene Therapy recommend to mention as bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. And we can see here from last decade until now, there are a great enthusiasm about the possibility of using bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell to treat numerous diseases in the animals. And we can see there are some collection sites of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell in the human, canine, and animals model, in the long bone, irregular bone, and also in the flat bone. Bone marrow considered to be mesenchymal stem cell because it has minimum criteria from International Society Cell and Gene Therapy. For example, can adherence to plastic, and it has the positive common marker and negative for hematopoietic marker, and also it can differentiate into adipocyte, osteoblasts, and also chondrocyte. Here is the figure from our lab member that just published in the scientific report. And we can see here that bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell can either range and refer to fibroblast-like cell. And from this figure, we can see that it's positive for pluripotency marker and also has the mesenchymal stem cell surface marker. And the self-renewal capability can be assessed from colony-forming unit assay. From this figure, we can see that young donor has higher cell number comparing the old donor. And we can see here that there is significant difference from young and old donor. From young donor, just need less time to get population doubling comparing with old donor. And from this table, we can see that late passage also need more time to get population doubling. It also occur in the senescence in the late passage. According to the International Society Cell and Gene Therapy, human bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell must express CD105, CD90, and CD73, and lack of the marker of hematopoietic. And in contrast, we can see that CD73 was moderately expressed in the canine bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell. And in the murine bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell, it shows SK1, but it's slightly different with another strand that BAPC not express the SK1. From this mini review, we summarize that bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell derived from human, canine, rat, and also murine can differentiate into osteogenic, chondrogenic, adipogenic, and also neurogenic lineage. And from this high differentiate capability, bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell have been suggested as potential therapeutic to improve functional and pathological recovery for several diseases by transplantation. For example, in the mouse liver cirrhosis, after 21 days transplantation, no more inflammation and cirrhosis. And in the dermatology, bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell allogenic transplantation was accelerate wound healing in beagle, and in the osteogenesis imperfecta in human, after 3 months, osteoblasts and grafts saw new bone formation. Overall, we conclude that bone marrow-derived mesenchymal stem cell are known for its availability and high capability for its stemness characteristic, and the utilization of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell in tissue engineering and clinical application have been widely explored, not only in human, but also in animals. And the understanding the differences and uniqueness of bone marrow mesenchymal stem cells across species is important to be able maximizing its potential in clinical practices. Thank you and see you at CU.
Thank you, Dr. Medania, for the presentation. Shall we now move to our last presenter, Mr. Rizky Fitrawan Yunaidi? I'd like to invite you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody. I will present an article titled Effect of Natural Aromatase Blocker Towards Adult Pelung Chicken. This is our team. Here I'm Rizky Fitrawan Yuneldi from Postgraduate Student Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Puji Astuti from Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Henry Tisharagi from Faculty of Biology, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Claude Mona Irene from Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Introduction. This article The performance of pelung chicken can be seen from crowing and good comb growth. The performance of chicken is influenced by the hormone testosterone. Aromatase blockers are agents of blocking the action of the aromatase enzyme, thereby minimizing the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. Clam cells waste that is not used by marine product manufacturer, which can cause environmental problems. Clam cell can be innovated into natural aromatase blocker by turning them into powder. The clams that are popular in the community, namely blood clam cells, Nadara granosa, are mostly consumed and only used for meat. Previous research natural aromatase blocker, according to Astuti et al. 2020, that giving an IV 0.3 mg 30 gram body weight can increase the frequency and quality of a male canary song. This statement is supported by Unaldi et al. 2021 that giving an IV 0.036 mg 40 gram body weight during the initial growth period can increase testosterone level compared to controls. Administration of an IV to rats at a dose of 0.8 mg to 100 gram body weight can increase testosterone level. Giving an IV is expected to improve the performance of adult pelung chicken. Aim of study to determine the effect of natural aromatase blocker on comb growth, growing percentage, testicular weight, and gonadosomatic index in adult pelung chicken. Material and methods. The study used for adult pelung chicken, the dose of an IV is powder of blood clam cell Nadara granosa of 0.9 mg kilogram body weight. Parameter analyzed were length and comb length, percentage of pelung chicken crowing, call duration less than 3 seconds, and song duration more than equal to 3 seconds, as well as testicular weight and gonadosomatic index. Before starting treatment of pelung chicken, the data were taken to be used to control data day 0 and the treatment was given for IQWIC. Every 2 weeks during the study, data collection of comb length and height sound recording was carried out. The sound is recorded using the Hagemann-Tots methods. The quantitative data obtained were analyzed using one-way ANOVA at the 95% level of confidence with the SPSS software version 15. The Ethics Committee of the Integrated Testing and Research Laboratory Universitas Gadjah Mada, certificate number 0002004 LPTT 5/2020 approved the all procedures. Result and discussion. Effect of an IV treatment for IQWIC on comb growth in adult pelung chicken. The result of the study of giving an IV for IQWIC show that does not cause acceleration of comb growth. Can be seen in Table 1 and Figure 1. This statement is supported by Unaldi et al. 2021 that an IV with a dose of 0.036 mg 40 gram body weight for 5 weeks cannot significantly increase the growth acceleration of length and high comb of DOZ male layer chicken. Effect of an IV treatment for IQWIC on percentage growing adult pelung chicken. The results show that the percentage of a song is higher than a call can be seen Table 2. This is bigger, it is in line with the increased testosterone hormone. So the percentage of a song is higher. following the opinion of Queiroz and Humbert, 2006, that the hormone testosterone underlies the sound of crowing chicken. Effect of an IV treatment for IQWiC on testicular weight and gonadosomatic index adult pelung chicken. The result of the study of adult pelung chicken that were given an IV saw that the testicular weight of 45.75 gram and the gonadosomatic index of 1.009% were still within the normal range is seen in table 3. Following the opinion of Zidozia et al. 2010 that the gonadosomatic index is indication of the efficiency of sperm production by 1%. This statement is supported by Oki et al. 2018 that the gonadosomatic index in Isabron chicken was 1.05%, while the testicular weight was 23,023 gram for the body weight of 2199 gram chicken, which was still in the normal range. Conclusion: it can be concluded that adult pelung chicken given an IV of 0.9 milligram kilogram body weight did not cause the acceleration of comb growth. The percentage of chicken crowing was higher in the song than call. Acknowledgement: we express our gratitude to the doctoral research grant of Faculty Veterinary Medicine, Universitas Gadjah Mada with funding contract number 7007 UN1 of KHHK4 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our presenters for the last section or the fourth session. We have several questions for the presenters here. So first we would like to call Miss Santika. I think this question is for you. We would like to know if you also conducted your study with GLE against Ascaridia galli or other worms in vivo. And if you did, could you please share with us the result because it's very interesting. Do we have Miss Santika in our forum here?
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Sorry. Sorry for the question. Can you repeat?
Okay. There is a question whether you also conducted the research with the CLE in vivo, either against Ascaridia galli or other worms.
No. We just focus on Ascaridia, just only Ascaridia galli.
Okay. And then actually there is another question that is related to that. Is maybe you already discussed your finding with your team. What is then the application of your study? What is the application and how are we going to applicate that to the animal setting? Because this is like the lab setting. Then how are we going to give that to the animal?
After this study, we
are we losing?
We will to in vivo study in poultry.
Okay, thank you. I think there is other question for Ms. Santika. And then thank you very much for your presentation and your answer. And now we have also questions for other presenters. This one is for Dr. Medania. There is a question. Do bone marrow derived mesenchymal cells have superiorities compared to other type of stem cells? Dr. Medania, are you with us? I think we have. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Okay. Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anta, for your question. Okay. From our mini review article, I think, yeah, we can talk that bone marrow mesenchymal stem cell is the superior stem cell because many people use the mesenchymal stem cell, and it also high yield for the isolation and contain the potential of colony forming from, yeah, I think that.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Medania. I think we only have one question.
Okay. Actually, I have my team here. Maybe.
Yeah. Could you
Okay.
please
Maybe.
invite them?
Okay. Maybe there are some. Do you want to add the answer?
So actually, bone marrow mesenchymal stem cells also one of the cells that is the oldest one to be found. It was found.
For the mute, yeah.
Hello. Sorry.
Yeah.
Actually, bone marrow mesenchymal stem cells is the first mesenchymal stem cells to be found, and it's also the most mesenchymal stem cells with clinical outcome already compared to the other type of mesenchymal stem cells. It's also very easy to be collected, and it's what. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to Dr. Medania and her team. Thank you for the presentation and the answer to the question. And now we have also several questions for Mr. Rizky Fitriawan. I hope you are still with us today. The first question for you is, what is the content of the blood clam cell? I mean the powdered blood clam cells.
Yes.
Can you share with us the content of the powdered blood clamshell?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What is the content of the powdered blood clamshell that you use here in your research?
Thanks for the question. The powdered blood clam cell Nadara chronosa contain zinc, according to Astuti et al. 2019, that zinc able to increase testosterone through the aromatase blocker mechanism by blocking the conversion of testosterone to estrogen, so that the testosterone hormone is maintained high.
Okay. Thank you. There is still actually one question, but I think we already run out of time for our session. So we would like to forward the question to you so that you can answer it by email, if you don't mind, Mr. Rizky. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So that is the conclusion of our session this afternoon. On behalf of the committee, we would like to thank you for your enthusiasm in joining our session today, and especially this afternoon, we really had a great time. And may I remind you that you are requested to come back to our to join our plenary session at 4 o'clock Jakarta time for the closing ceremony. And also there will be awards given to the best presenter for each class. So I think that will be very interesting for us. And then let me remind you again, once again, if you have not done so, please fill in the form of attendance and the form of evaluation to help us better in the future. And then I think our co-host will take pictures from all of us. So could you please turn your camera on so we can all take pictures together? So please, the co-host, can you lead the session, please?
Okay, everyone, turn on your camera, please. Okay. These are the best poses. I will start in 3, 2, 1, come. Once again, 3, 2, 1, click. Then the next, okay, next screen, and 1, 2, 3. Take two.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mas, jangan ditutup dulu, ada beberapa.
Thank you very much.
Halo Bu Anta, yang jam 4 di mana ya linknya ya?
Akan di-share sebentar lagi, Bu Sita.
Oke, jadi saya bisa live dari sini ya. Thank you.
Ya, bisa Ibu, nanti akan diinformasikan kepada peserta untuk linknya.
Oke, thank you.
Ya, terima kasih Ibu. Di WA group ada Bu, di WA group.
Oke.
Janji, matur nuwun.
Ya, sami.